Hello everybody and welcome back again, and this is the second video that I'm going to do, and it is the new ranked reward ship. This would be the Flint. Now you might be looking at it and going, but this looks like an Atlanta. What's different? Well, quite a few things are different. The Flint, in many ways, is actually very similar to the Atlanta, but in some ways also very different. So one, the Flint has much better AA compared to the Atlanta. Yes, she has one fewer 127mm dual turret per side of the ship. There were two wing turrets that the Atlanta had. Flint doesn't have those. She's got only 6 of the dual 127mm turrets, but her other AA guns are significantly better than the Atlanta. That's one thing. Second, while the Atlanta has the sort of pathetic 4.5-kilometer torpedo set that you can only really use if things get really close and you have to show broadside to use those torpedoes, the Flint actually has a usable torpedo set. She's actually got Mahan 9.2 kilometer, 55 knot, 16,000 max damage torps. But the big thing about the Flint, the really big thing, and that happens to be the smoke. The Flint has, quite honestly, a pretty ridiculous smoke. If you think about the Atlanta for a minute, and you think about the Atlanta is... it's a fun ship, but the Atlanta has very, very big problems. And one of its big problems is that the Atlanta isn't really good anywhere close to the open. It's too easily picked out, nuked by battleships, even nuked by other cruisers, and its guns don't really have that great range. So Atlantas, for example, are very, very limited to fighting from behind islands. The Flint, having the same guns as the Atlanta, the same kind of arcs as the Atlanta, is basically going to take advantage of the same kind of playstyle. So, if you take a look at a map, go and look at all the places where there are islands, and you say, okay, as an Atlanta player, if I can go there, the Flint can go there too. But the Atlanta, like I mentioned earlier, is not good in the open. The Flint, on the other hand, is okay in the open. And the reason why the Flint is okay in the open is because of that smoke. While the Atlanta got a radar, the Flint comes with the one thing the Atlanta really wished it had: a smoke. But not any smoke. The Flint smoke is utterly ridiculous as a smoke. It allows the ship to basically play the destroyer role, to basically go into some open ocean area close to the enemy fleet, let's say 10, 11 kilometers, pop smoke, and then just sit in the smoke and spam you to death with the massive DPM that the Flint is able to put out. Because the Flint is basically an Atlanta, and the number of HE shells that it can put out can do around 2,500 upwards of close to 5,000 damage per salvo, depending on sort of how many shells hit and where it hits. So what I want you to pay attention to is when Ariel finally gets around to using the smoke, how long the smoke deploys for, and it deploys for a very long time. It's an absolutely ridiculous smoke. Deploys for a very long time. It lasts an incredibly long time. And finally, when it finally runs out, you have a very short cooldown period where you don't have a smoke before another one is ready. So as long as, with the Atlanta, for example, you almost have to run Concealment Expert because you have to stay stealthy and hidden. With the Flint, you don't have to at all. You can actually opt for Demo Expert plus AFT, giving yourself both more range and more chances to set fires. And there's kind of one of the reasons why I ended up taking control of the camera. There was too much going in and out, just in case anybody was wondering. So yeah, we don't really get to see him aim, but we'll see all the damage pop up. Alright. So what are the ideal targets for the Flint? Well, for the Atlanta, there's only select kind of ships that you can really go after in Atlanta. You can go after big targets like battleships as long as you're hiding behind an island. You can go after destroyers. That's the Atlanta's primary prey. Enemy cruisers, though, not the best thing to go for in Atlanta. CVs are, of course, something you're somewhat immune to, but you don't want to go against battleships in open water either. Flint, pretty much effective against everything. Obviously super effective against destroyers, because destroyers, like, when they run into Atlanta, get nuked. They'll get nuked by the Flint too. you will be able to sit in your smoke and you will be able to absolutely screw over cruisers, you will absolutely screw over battleships, and of course, because your AA is even better than that of the Atlanta, good luck to any CV that wants to get within 7 kilometers, 7.2 kilometers of your ship. Yeah, their planes don't really last. That enemy Ryujo had that dive bomber squadron get vaporized in 2 seconds, 3 seconds. It was so ridiculously quick that I don't think the Ryujo as a player even had time to react. All right, but here's the most ridiculous part of all. Ready? This is the part where this ship is absolutely broken. His aerial's in front right now. On the front line, not really much support behind him, a cruiser and a destroyer. Enemy team is going to have a Shores come out, a Nuremberg come out, a Cleveland come out, the York is there, the New York is here, and Ariel by himself is going to be able to hold this flank pretty much without that much support from his own teammates. That Shores came out a little bit within a couple of salvo, had lost a tremendous amount of HP already, realizes that it's probably not a good idea and decides to turn. In case you didn't notice, there was like a couple of, was it 2.5, 3.5, I think it was a 3.7. There was one 4.7k salvo. So Shores came out, turned around, there it goes, gets vaporized. Next ship on the target list is that Nuremberg. And let's see, 12:55 right now is the start time for this engagement. This Nuremberg is pretty screwed as well. Look at the damage output per salvo with this HE. Yes, of course, the other ship is doing some damage as well, but the amount of HP that is getting taken off every salvo with this Flint is quite substantial. Alright, the other ship is getting at least some good hits here and there, but that Nuremberg is dead in just, I believe, here we go, let's see. Oh, manages to make a turn, keeps himself alive for just a little bit longer. Basically survived for about 30 seconds, I think. Just a little bit more than that? No, actually a bit more than that now. About 40 seconds there? Yeah, about 40 seconds is how long that Nuremberg survives. Cleveland comes out. Take a look at those salvos. 4.1k damage. There's like 2.5. And all this time, none of those cruisers can fire back. None of those cruisers can do anything about this Flint. Why? They can't see him. The smoke is still here. The smoke lasts, quite literally, way too long. Just way too long. This thing makes destroyers look bad when they deploy smoke. Because I think for almost like 2 minutes, the Flint is able to stay completely invisible. And then finally the smoke dissipates, and take a look at the timer. Cleveland also lasted just about 60 seconds. Finally, the smoke runs out, and the cooldown timer is a mere 30 seconds. That means the entire damage window that you can have against a properly played Flint is 30 seconds to do damage to him before that Flint is able to recloak himself with smoke again. Had Ariel actually wanted to, right about here, could have popped into the smoke. The New York does get a salvo off, so there we go. That's the only damage he's taken again from that New York, and boop, now the smoke up. Smoke deployment is 20 plus seconds worth of deployment, so a pretty large smoke area can be deployed. Alright, so with the smoke coming out, all Ariel has to do is slow down, wait for the smoke to fully cover him, and rinse repeat exactly what we just saw earlier, and rack up more damage. Yeah. Okay, I mean this entire battle only lasts like, I think it was like just under 14 minutes. So what are my thoughts? What are my thoughts about the ship? Ooh, I don't know. I don't like something being this ridiculous in game. I know it's a reward ship. I understand that it's a reward ship, but this is a pretty ridiculous reward ship. I mean, the smoke, I think the duration is just way too much. The monopoly on having a good smoke, I think honestly should be held by destroyers. If you give cruisers a smoke, that's okay, but it needs to have some sort of deficit. There needs to be some kind of balancing variable. The way the Flint is right now is I mean, sure, the Atlanta's obviously envious as hell of the ship, but most destroyers, I think, are going to be envious of this kind of smoke. And never mind that, of course, all destroyers, I think, would be envious of the firepower. Can you imagine a destroyer that would have this kind of firepower and being able to be cloaked in smoke all the time? Utterly, utterly crazy. That York is dead. So far, 138,000 damage, and Ariel didn't even break a sweat. And then, anybody who ever just wanders into this engagement zone is pretty much going to die. Yep. Pretty much everyone who wanders in here is going to get killed. Alright, so he leaves the protection of his smoke. Not really necessary, to be honest. He had a pretty good position there, but could have just stayed there, actually, and just continued to hold this entire flank by himself. Didn't really have to leave. Quite able to stay in that smoke, but that's okay. I mean, smoke, I guess, would have run out in a little bit, too. But that's okay. Remember, 30-second cooldown timer? Yeah. Yeah. This Flint is... I have to say, the Flint, out of a lot of the ships that I've seen, is honestly one with one of the more ridiculous features. The Kudasov has a smoke, but it's a short duration smoke. Iwaki has a smoke, it's a short duration smoke. You know, cruisers should have a rather short duration smoke, but this one, not so much at all. Okay, so engagement against a York. Let's see how the Flint does. HE is also very consistent, mind you, because the damage is... It's not much, but if you can hit a lot of shells at once, the damage is very, very consistent. While on the flip side, the York is not going to have such luck. There you go, AP salvo, 4.4k damage. That's less damage than even one of the salvos that Ariel fired earlier against that Shores, I believe. That was 4.7k with just HE. Yep, okay, that was a miss. There you go, now just the forward guns. Ooh, that one actually did nothing. Okay, going to AP now. The Flint, much like the Atlanta, if you get up close and personal, yay! Torpedo dodge! There you go. There is your obligatory 1 torpedo dodge per video. And Citadel with 127mm armor piercing. That's it. Battle is pretty much done. Ariel is quite literally not even breaking a sweat. I don't even think this battle was really one to be considered even all that intense, as you pretty much can rinse repeat this continuously. I mean, if you want to be immune to this Furutaka, I could just pop the smoke and hit in that as well. And of course, 17 fires so far. This is what the Atlanta wished it would be, except sadly the Atlanta is... I mean, the Atlanta's stuck with like a radar, and... Yep, this is what the Atlanta wishes it was. Sadly, I'm not ever sure we're ever going to see Atlanta get any better than it is right now, to be honest. That's it. Battle is over. 992 points. One more for the cap. Ariel's going to end this battle with 161,000 damage. And here's the final result screen. It was a victory. 808,000 credits earned, 8,499 experience with all the multipliers, 161,000 damage. We missed most of the ribbons because Ariel took an incomplete screenie, so oopsie daisy there, a little derp. But detailed damage screen will show all. 120,000 damage with HE shells, 10k with armor piercing. So with guns alone, 131,000 damage, and then 30,000 with fires. No damage with torpedoes, but that is perfectly okay. Took some return damage, but nothing all too significant. Battle lasted just under 14 minutes. Was able to completely obliterate the enemy team, essentially, minus 2 ships. Top of the team, 2,763 base experience, where the second person on the team is at 1,151. Well, folks, meet the Flint, the ship the Atlanta always wanted to be, but will never be, and is utterly superior in every single way, shape, and form. Anyways, folks, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Take care, have a good one, and I'll talk to all of you again soon.